Alright folks, I'm here to talk to you about a movie that I was really quite looking forward to, which turned out to be, well, you'll find out in this review, won't you? Welcome one and all, this is a review to Train to Busan presents Peninsula. Dun dun, jobby. Aye, this is the long-awaited sequel to Train to Busan, even though it's not called Train to Busan 2. I don't know if that would really not make all that much sense, but it's got nothing to do with Busan, okay? We get there at the end of the first movie, spoilers. Yes, I will be having some spoilers in this. Spoilers for a movie that's a number of years old now, and spoilers for a movie that's a few weeks old, if not a few months old. Just came out there Monday. Not this Monday, but last Monday being the 30th of November. And I was quite eagerly anticipating this, and I was like, oh cool, got this, waited to the weekend. Me and my son sat through it, and I don't think we stopped making fun of it at all from beginning to end. I thought the start of the movie was quite good. It started off on a boat, and they were escaping Seoul or Korea or whatever, and they're doing their thing, and somebody's infected because of course they are, and it's like, oh, cliche. It is cliched, but it's better than what came, after this first 15-20 minute cliche ridden zombie fest. And it's like this military guy, can't remember, look, I don't know if it's just because of Korean names, right? I don't remember any character's name. I loved Train to Busan, don't remember any character's name in that either, okay? But I had some more attachment to these characters in the first movie. Don't really, because they were so superbly acted. Other than that, I've no idea. So guy and his sister and her husband and kid all escape Korea to find out the boat's got zombies on it, and all but the brother and husband die for reasons. And it's like a slow-mo, pained expression on the brother's face. It's like fucking pained expression on the husband's face too, and I'm like, this movie's just started. I'm not really feeling anything. Considering the sister and the sister wife, sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it? Considering she just sat in her ass and did absolutely bugger out to save herself. Alright, the boy was bitten, and he's fucking convulsing on the floor, and his veins are all popping out seeding. Get past all that, and it's like, Hong Kong, and you're like, okay, Hong Kong. And that is when one of the biggest jarring moments happens, and that's with the English in the movie. And there's like, I'd say maybe 50 to 60% of this movie is in English. Maybe not as much as that, but it's quite a bit more than I was expecting, and it's really jarring. There's English on the boat when he's speaking to the UN guys that are there to save them. It makes sense because the UN would be there to help in a crisis like that. Fine. It's just so weird to hear, and you're like, English? What? And they can all speak perfect English, all these Korean folk. I mean, they speak fucking better English than I do. Would it be harder, would it? And I'm just, what? My son's like, what? And we're both like, what? It's very strange, very jarring. So anyway, skipping on to the story of this movie, is this like American guy was smuggling out $20 million in cash in US dollars from Seoul on a truck, and it got stopped for some reason. Zombies. That's probably a better reason. Zombies. Good reason for anything to stop, really. So he gets this wee task force of people to go back into Korea, and I'm just thinking, wait a fucking minute here. Are you telling me the sequel to Train to Busan is a heist? A heist with people getting into the undead lands of South Korea. What about the lassie and the pregnant woman from the first movie? Can we not learn what happened to them when they reached that town that's fortified with military? Why have we went off in this fucking tangent of a direction? And this is where I'm beginning to think this is more of a spin-off movie. It's not called Train to Busan 2. It is called Train to Busan Presents Peninsula. Had they just called it Peninsula, you could even have forgiven it for being a fucking Train to Busan movie. Oh my god. There's another good Korean zombie movie called #Alive. It's a better sequel to Train to Busan than this. So I'm going to think that is the sequel, and this is a spin-off. And my god, it is the weirdest move they've ever done. I just, I can't get my fucking thoughts correct here. The Train to Busan movie was thought out, thought-provoking, whatever. Quite atmospheric, quite claustrophobic. There's no real guns in it. They had sort of like batons and like newspapers, and they battled the zombies with the newspapers. And that sounds a bit silly, but it was done in very, 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 very super duper good effect. And this is like the opposite of that. This is like the mirror image, I suppose, if you will. It's like Train to Busan was Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead. Well, this is Resident Evil fucking 4, 5, and 6. I mean, this is worse than the Resident Evil movies. I couldn't think that would ever be fucking possible to happen, and I'm really not getting my words in good order here. I'm sitting here in absolute credulity. Can't believe what I just watched. 90 minutes, or no, actually it's nearer 2 hours of absolute drivel pish. Absolute drivel pish, people. If it's not for the dodgy CGI and the CGI in this, dear Christ, it's fucking dreadful. There's bits in the movie where it's like fucking Mad Max chases. There's one Mad Max style chase at the end. It's dreadful. But there's this one where they've reached Korea and fucking they found the truck within like 3.5 seconds. They're like, oh, that was easy. And then they're like, oh, there's a dead guy in the driver's seat. Well, we put one bullet in his head because we've got a silencer, and I got no. We'll get the dingus brother, or brother-in-law I should say. He dives into the fucking cab, looks at the thing, and then it comes alive to no one's surprise. It's not even scary. It's just like, oh Jesus, really? How stupid are these writers? And then they're like, oh, and he leans on the fucking horn of the truck and it brings all the other zombies to the yard, and it's like, okay, all my honks bring the zombies to the yard. So that's what happens. And then this kid shows up, and there's kids in this, and they are fucking irritating. And they show up in an SUV, magically. It's like, okay, you've learnt to drive an SUV, fine, it's lawlessness, cool. And they show up, and it's still the main guy is like, oh, do you want to come with us if you want to live? They actually used a line out of Terminator. Oh, fucking hell. Not an original thought in their heads here, folks. It's like they've taken all the Western shite, all the shitiest Western shite they could think of, and then added their own shite, and it just made this big bubbling pile of fetid, jobby, I hated this movie. Ugh, Jesus. There's annoying kids, there's fucking one kid, the younger kid must be about 6 to 8 years old, has got this like, remote control car, and she's driving it around, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? An episode of Dead Rising? Sorry, I'll compose myself. Yeah, I didn't like this film. It was dreadful. The bad guys were cliche. There's a game show part in it, and it goes on for about fucking half an hour too long, and it happens twice, and there's like, they put this guy in this, like, it's a shopping centre, and it's like, oh, there's the arena, and you're like, fuck you, in the arena, and they've all got numbers on them, like, oh, I hope this cunt can run faster than the last cunt. You're like, well, obviously not, because where's he running to from one side of the fucking food court to the other? Because there's really nowhere to run, it's just a fucking big room. And then they open the gate, and then there's like, oh, is there going to be like a horde of scary zombies? No, there's a clump of zombies, and they're on their back, and they're all meshed together, and I'm like, what is this? This is beyond fucking weird. Oh, I just want to bash my head into a wall. Yeah, it's not good. And I hope we get an actual Busan 2. Oh, train to Busan, bus to Busan, bus out of Busan, fucking plane to the next country. Anything's better than this. Also, it's steals from 28 Days Later, where 28 Days Later the UK is, you know, the only place it's got this virus. So it's Korea's the only place it's got this virus. And they're quarantined, and we were quarantined, and it's like, really, you've copied everything. You've taken all the originality from the first movie and shoved it down the toilet and just copied everything that we've done and the Americans have done to far worse effect. Is this deliberate? Did you do this on purpose? Did you write this movie on purpose to make it look shite when you knew you were kicking our asses? Alright, 28 Days Later is a bloody good movie. The sequel is weak, but compared to this, it's a fucking masterpiece. I'm done. Cinema is over. Well, it really is now, anyway, because of the COVID-19 jobby. Apparently that buries your videos, but who fucking cares? Good night.